On today's episode of Titus and Tate, it is a casual Friday. We are back in the studio for the first time. How long has it been? Like 6 weeks, 5 weeks?
It's been, honestly, you could tell me 3 months. Like I said, I lost concept of time during the pandemic last year. So let's go with 5 weeks.
Well, however long it's been. Well, Tate and I are back in the studio. We are back looking each other in the eyeballs.
Yes.
And we're excited about that. Meanwhile, as temperatures around the country are heating up, Tate, the NBA Finals is as well.
Yes.
The Bucks tied the series.
Finally.
2-2. Yeah.
You and I reported on this podcast that we still believe in the Bucks. We both picked them to win the title. So right now, Bucks in 6 is still an option, which is knock on wood, knock on wood.
We'll talk about the finals a little bit. USA beat Argentina. I guess we'll assess that. Meanwhile, Bradley Beal is now off of Team USA. Jeremy Grant is his status pendant. What are? God damn it, dude! We're back to where we started, where we're like have to suss out the protocols.
Yes, the Yankees and the Red Sox are not playing tonight.
Like is Jeremy Grant like what? Like, I don't know. We're gonna do a show today, but we're gonna tell a story at the top of the show as to why this has turned into Casual Friday.
Because we made a big promise on our last episode. We told you that a big guest was coming. We're gonna be in studio, and we had a plan. But the plan did not come together.
Here we are. So you're going to get Casual Friday instead. But first,
Woody Durham.
I just felt myself, as I said, like Jeremy Grant, as he played, and I just like had a flashback to
where
I got PTSD to like.
I'm telling you, dude. Shout out to my mom for calling. When I was back up in North Carolina, she was like, "I don't think you should go back. This Delta variant, it's all." And I was like, "What?" Here we are.
I just got a flashback to like Baylor had 4 people test positive, and then like you're scrolling through Twitter trying to figure out what the protocol is on the first. If 4 players test, now what did they? How did they test? Have they retested? I hated that. That was not fun.
I sincerely hope that Bradley Beal and Jeremy Grant are just like, I don't want to play on this team. You know what I mean?
That's what I hope.
Like that's what I hope it is. I think Bradley Beal, there's a shot. I could see it in his face as he sat next to Popovich and was like, "I'm not trying to get embarrassed out here. I'm not trying to lose to Dellavedova."
All right, we ready?
Let's do it.
All right, so we had a plan, and that plan has fallen through, Tate. We were going to have a guest, as you said. And we're going to be very careful with how much we're throwing people under the bus here because, you know, this business is one in which these things happen. We'll put it that way. Like what has transpired is not something that is out of the ordinary. And in that regard, maybe we should take full responsibility for not having a plan B ready.
Right.
You know? Like so I want to say off the top.
This is our fault.
We do take full responsibility.
Yes.
This is 100% our fault that we are not prepared, that I have 0 notes in front of me right now. And I have no idea where the show is going to go. But at the same time.
Say it. However.
So the reason we're going to talk about this is because it was such a funny story. Like, so I'll just jump straight to the point. Duncan was supposed to come on the show.
Yes, friend of the program.
Friend of the program.
One of the original friends of the program.
The OG, the guy that comes on the show every summer. He's still going to come on at some point. Is in Los Angeles. We just recently here at Fox were given the okay to like
have guests
back in the studio, which I checked the news right before I sat down.
Turns out we're in protocols now that we offered the invitation. Yes.
But yeah, so Duncan was in LA. He was supposed to come do the show. We grabbed dinner with him on Monday, and the whole reason I want to tell the story of Duncan not being on the show is because of what transpired on Monday. Because like as Monday was happening, the dinner with Duncan on Monday, I was like, this is fantastic content, and I want you to tell the story from your perspective because ultimately this is a Tate Frazier story more than it is anybody else.
Yeah, I mean, do you think we should tell the story without Duncan? I mean,
but yeah, because by the time he comes,
by the time he comes
on,
back, who cares?
Who cares?
Who cares?
So the story's funny. Like that's what I mean. It was like fresh. He's gonna come on in like a month and a half or something, and it's not gonna be as funny, and we're not gonna remember it that much.
For the true friends of the program at home, you know Tommy Alter. Tommy Alter has been on this program before. He infuriated you because he promised to have these revelations when he came on the show. We brought him. This is in the old variation of the show.
He infuriated me like 5 different ways, but the first way he infuriated me was he invited me to dinner with Roy Hibbert. I told that story where the check came.
You got stuck with the check. Yes.
I thought splitting the bill meant like we all go through and itemize what we had because that's how we do it in the Midwest when you go to Applebee's. This was a very different experience.
5
in LA.
cards, man.
Yeah. So I told that story, and then also, he came on the show. Before he comes on the show, he was in our office at the Ringer, and he's like, "Can I come on your guys' show?" I was like, "Yeah, that'd be awesome. You should just talk shit about all these guys, because Tommy's like the most connected guy I've ever met in my life."
He was telling us Mo Bamba stories, so we were like, "Come on,
dude!" I'm like, "These are great stories. Tell the stories." Yeah. And then he comes on the show, and I'm like, "Tell us about some of these prospects." He's like, "I'm not gonna do that." What? Cool,
and that is getting Tommy altered. And what happened on Monday night was a very specific Tommy altering, of sorts, because Tommy Alter invites you and I. He texts both of us in a group text and says, "I have a reservation Monday night at Bavel." Right? Is that how you spell? Yeah, you don't know. I don't know either. So he says that Duncan is coming. So inherently, I say yes. Yeah. You say yes.
Yeah, it was a great. For as much as I like to make fun of Tommy, I do like this about him, that he takes initiative. He sets up these dinners.
Yes. He connects people.
If you follow Tommy on social media, you will see once every 4 weeks, maybe less than 2.5 weeks, something like that. He'll suddenly just tweet a picture and Quavo and Malcolm Gladwell,
Don Cheadle,
and PFT commenter.
Yes,
are
and you're like,
how?
Dinner.
And the how is Tommy. and not only do I appreciate that he introduces you to people you would never meet before.
Yeah.
All that kind of stuff. I just appreciate that he takes initiative, because I'm a friend in the friend group that doesn't always take initiative. I'm not the guy that I wait for people to invite me places or to say, "Do you want to do something?" I'm like, "Yeah, let's do something." But I'm not. I don't have it in me, which makes me a bad friend. So anyway, I wanted to say that Tommy.
I think you're a good friend.
I respect that about Tommy. So
yeah.
I do like that part, but now let's get to the parts we don't like.
Well, Tommy's a mover and a shaker, as we know, and a connector. So we love him to death. But we get to this dinner. This dinner is, you and I both live on the west side in Los Angeles. This is going to sound like the Californians, the SNL sketch, but we're both on the west side. And Tommy says Bavel is where we're going to go. So I haven't looked this place up. You text me and you say, "Have you seen where this place is?" And then immediately I'm like, oh my God. I'm thinking, who knows? It could be anywhere. It could be in San Diego for all we know.
Yes.
And I look and it's downtown, right off Skid Row. And I'm like, wait, what? Where are we going? I'm working in Sherman Oaks. You're coming from the west side.
I live in Marina Del Rey. Duncan's on the west side. Tommy lives on the west side.
Everyone
going to this dinner is on the west side. Yes.
But we're going downtown.
We're going to go downtown on a Monday night.
Yes.
Fighting rush hour.
Yes.
To go eat by Skid Row.
Yes. And we're also going to a restaurant, I've never been to, I had no familiarity with.
I pulled up the menu, and my pasty white ass from the Midwest was like, "What is this?"
Yes.
It was like a Middle Eastern, I will say the food was great. I enjoyed it. Shout out to the people at Bavel, whatever it is. Great food. I enjoyed my experience, but I was very intimidated by the menu, because I was like, I don't know what any of this is.
Yes.
And I guarantee it's all going to be very spicy.
Lamb bread, falafel, and hummus, things like that. So we drive, or all of us drive, down the 35-minute drive. I was, the full disclosure, I'm working, you know how I do things. I can wait to the last minute, and then I'm just like, I don't want to do that, so I don't go. Yeah. You know what I mean? And then there's an Irish exit that people have. I have an Irish entrance, so I just never come up. I never show up. So as the clock is winding down, I'm thinking to myself, man, I really don't want to go drive down here. But again, it's Duncan, it's you, it's Tommy. I'm gonna go. So I make the drive down. I get there. Duncan and George Niang of the Utah Jazz get out of a car right as I got there. I'm like, perfect timing. We're gonna go check in. But there's 3 of us, and I'm doing the math, and I'm like, Wait a second. So there's 3 of us already here. You're not here yet.
Yep.
Tommy is the man who planned the dinner. So now we have 5.
Yep.
And I know the reservation is for 4.
Yep.
But I'm thinking to myself, usually you could throw a chair at the end of the table. Yep. It'll be fine.
And also we have 2 NBA players with us.
Yes.
Maybe
we can finesse the situation. And Tommy for sure can. So I go up to the host stand with Duncan. We ask about Tommy Alter's table. Tommy's still not here. Going to be about 20 minutes late. That's on Tommy time. We get there, we ask. The lady looks at us as if we asked, if we could buy a share of the restaurant. You know what I mean? Like, it looked at us as if this was the most egregious request that could ever be made.
Yes.
And I look at Duncan and I say, boom, this is perfect. I'm leaving.
Yes.
And he's like, you're not leaving.
Because Duncan, as much as we know him on air, we should say that, like, we've rarely hung out with Duncan off air to where, like, Duncan doesn't know your quirks. And you're like, when you said that, I was like, oh, he looks at me. Duncan looks at me and he's like, is he serious? I was like, Tate has never been more serious about anything in his life. In fact, I'm surprised he showed up in the first place. Yeah, I've explained it to Duncan.
I'm celebrating this fact.
Yeah.
All I want is to see Duncan and have, like, a time of chopping it up. So anyways, we get sent out because they're like, we're going to try to figure this out. Right?
Yeah.
We're going to try to find how to put a fifth person at a table. So we have about 20 minutes outside. We're chatting. We're having a great time. This is all I want. I just want to have, like, a little...
guy comes up to Duncan and says, I love your podcast.
Yes, in front of us.
And we were dying at that because
we are podcasters by trade.
Well, I was curious if the guy even knew that Duncan played in the NBA or not.
No,
if
he didn't.
He
did know George Niang played in the NBA.
Yeah,
he was like, "Are you an NBA player?"
Yeah.
Obviously, you aren't. You're a podcaster. So we get all those experiences. By the time this all happens, Tommy shows up, pulls up in his whip, and is like, "What's the word?" We tell them the predicament that we're in. He's like, "I'm gonna solve this." So we send Tommy up to solve it. I think it's gonna be solved. Goes up to the hostess stand. She takes him to the table. I'm like, I guess we're gonna be able to get 5 people here. So we're not.
Yeah, she says, like, in the time that Duncan had asked, and now,
yes,
she's like, a table has popped up that is made for 4.
Yes.
But I think it might work for you guys. Come take a look. And as soon as she said that, I'm looking around. There are very few instances, Tate, now that I don't play college basketball anymore, there are very few instances where I'm the 3rd tallest person in a group.
Yeah.
I was the 3rd tallest person in a group of 5, and I'm 6'4", and I'm standing there looking at 6'7" Duncan Robinson, 6'5", 6'6", whatever he is, George Niang. And I was like, if you're telling me there's a table that's made for 4, and we're trying to put 5 in there, you're tall yourself.
Yes.
I was like, there's no way this
is
going to happen.
For the Instagram, Tommy's also tall.
Tommy's also tall. Yeah, if you crowd, if he's wearing his lifts that night.
So we get to the table, and you're thinking to yourself, how could it not work, right? There's chairs. There's not chairs. There's a bench. It's 2 benches, and they are closed in as if, like, you want to be close and they're basically love benches.
Yes.
Like, instead of a love seat, it's a love bench. And the 2 NBA players, of course, sit on their side.
It's made, like, picture a setting that's made for, like, a double date. Like, 2 couples are there, and they're sitting opposite each other, so, like, the man can have the arm.
And they're supposed to be close.
In fact, throughout the dinner, I was instinctively almost putting my arm around Tommy because, like, the way the furniture was set up, it just, like, was asking me to. I just kept, like, putting my arm up, and I was like, okay, never mind.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's the
So
scene.
we get to the table. They sit down on their side, but, Duncan, nicely enough, he, like, scooches over, like, a little bit in the middle, right? So there's, like, a sliver of room next to him. You and Tommy sit down. Great co-host. You slide over. You give me enough space where I could maybe fit in. I walk to the table already knowing that I'm about to spin move out of here. You know what I mean? Like, this is... I didn't want to pay for this bill. It's $4 signs on Google. I'm like, there's no way. I was like, I'm going to drink water and not pay for this meal in the first place. I'd already eaten Mendocino. I'd eaten a salad before I came. So I'm like all set. So I walk into the table. I look, and again, there's a sliver over here, you guys right here. I'm like, I'm not even going to sit down. But then Duncan is very adamant, right, that I'm not going to leave, that I have to give it the old college try.
Yeah.
So then I took a seat next to you and Tommy. We have never been closer.
I am, both of my knees are touching each other. I got my shoulders as narrow as I possibly can.
Spreading. There's no big cat man spreading to be had here.
Yeah.
I sit there for about 5-7 seconds, get up, bid my goodbyes to everybody. I still think Duncan was in shock that I was actually going to leave, but there was no way that it was possible at that point that we sat there.
I think what's so shocking, if I'm gonna again, like, I know you well and have been in these situations with, not this particular situation, but situations where you're ready to dip a million times, and I can read it on your face and I see what's coming. I don't think Duncan knew this, and the reason I don't think I think he was so taken aback is how matter of fact you are in these instances.
Yes.
You don't like sit there and go, guys, you know what, like. I think you guys would have more fun if it was you sat down and you go, well, And just stood up, you're like, enjoy dinner, boys, and just walked out.
I had to give it the try, but the try was so
but like the way
half-assed.
you exit is just so like matter of fact. Like I'm done here, and you just leave, and you wave, and you say that's it. And Duncan just has his jaw on the floor, looking at me like, and he's like, should we apologize? Should we text him? Do you think we should like? Should we call him?
Tommy did send me a very nice text and apologize. He said I had no idea George was coming. I would much rather George Niang have that dinner than me.
And as I told the guys over and over and over, I was like, I swear to God, this was Tate's dream. This is what Tate wanted. Tate saw $4 sign, Skid Row, Babel.
Yes. It was not hitting all my marks. But again, I wanted to see everybody. So it worked out perfectly. When I got back by the hostess stand, the hostess knew me at that point. You know, she was like, "Oh, it didn't work," and I was like, "You knew it wasn't gonna work."
You dog. You knew exactly what you were doing.
You knew what you did. But I laughed to myself quite a bit that night. It was a very Larry David moment in my life, and these are the things that happen in my life.
I wish Duncan was here. We could have told that story.
I know. It would have been better because I think he would have been uncomfortable again. Because like you said, he doesn't really understand that I can laugh at myself. And granted, I did not want to be there. You know, I was Eric Bledsoe in Phoenix. I don't want to be here.
Yeah.
That was me.
Well, we had a great time without you. We talked about a lot of things. Duncan said he's out in L.A. because he's about to be a free agent. Wants to sign with the Lakers. Should I have said that? Should I?
Aggregate that. Get that together.
No, the worst part about I like as the dinner's going on, I was like, hey man, if you're around, I don't know what you're doing. He's like, I just work out in the mornings or whatever. I was like, yeah, come by the studio. We'll do a show. I don't even know what we'll talk about, but we'll figure it out. It'll be fun to have you on. We have it, we do it every summer.
Especially because the finals are going on. Duncan was in the, Mickey Mouse finals last year. We could ask him, about what he thinks about watching real finals basketball.
The only thing worse than winning a Mickey Mouse ring and having to be reminded of it is probably losing that Mickey Mouse ring. And how do you feel about that, Duncan? I don't know. We were all excited about it. He did tell me in his defense, he's like Thursday, which is when we record these, as you guys know. We put them out Friday morning or whatever. But he said Thursday, I got to work out, and then I'm doing an interview with the Friday Beers guys.
Are you telling me we lost? I did not. We lost out to the Friday Beers.
Okay, right. But go check out Duncan on the Friday. I'm sure he's doing the. He did great on that show, and we're not mad. We're not jealous.
What happened to our friend of the program? I think we're moving on to Joe Wieskamp.
No,
that's what's happening. I think we're now Joe Wieskamp podcast.
I didn't want to talk about it. So Duncan, if you are listening to this, sorry we just threw you under the bus a little bit. But like the story,
every program needs a fall guy.
The story of Tate getting bumped from dinner was so preposterous, and I was so dead set on telling the story on the show today.
No, it's perfect.
And not having Duncan, I didn't know how to tell it if Duncan's not, so here we are. So we did it. And
I think it may have been more fun without Duncan because, again, I think you are right. He felt bad.
Yeah.
And I want him to know that it's okay.
He was a fun hang, by the way.
Of course.
It was a great dinner.
Of course. He's a great guy.
Yeah. And
George Niang, also a great guy.
By the way,
big fan.
I want to say, ever since, this is probably, so the first Tommy Alter dinner experience was that Roy Hibbert story I told a few years ago. I've probably gone to these types of dinners with Tommy. We've gotten dinner just the two of us before, but I've gone to these dinners probably 7 to 10 times since then, if I had to ballpark at Tate. And I swear to God, you will not see a more extravagant diner, guy who's eating than me at these dinners. I order absolutely everything. Wine, yes. Appetizers, yes. Sides, throw in a couple more that I'm not even going to touch.
But that's also what Tommy's doing. So
yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Tommy's setting the tone.
I learned my lesson the first time when I ordered the smallest steak on the menu.
You know you're going to be paying for it anyway.
I know I'm going to be paying for it, Tate. The only time I ever get like espresso or a cappuccino or a nightcap coffee or anything like that is when I'm out to dinner with Tommy because I know everyone else at the table is going to do it. I'm like, I'm not paying for your shit. Give me one of those too.
Whatever you guys are having, make it two.
I'm getting one of those too. Oh, man.
Tommy.
Enough of that. Should we talk about basketball? What's the plan B here?
Yeah,
I think. Talk finals. Great game last night.
Yeah, can we talk about the finals? I mean, I brought up Phoenix. I brought up Eric Bledsoe. It feels like a nice lead in.
Who is the guy? Like PJ Tucker played for both these teams. Torrey Craig's been talked about. I think Eric Bledsoe gets a lot of love, but like not love is actually by love I mean the exact opposite of love. In that every time Drew Holiday sucks, everyone's like he plays like Eric Bledsoe, and then Chris Paul sucked, and they're like he's playing like Drew Holiday who plays like Eric Bledsoe. Who's the guy that represents Kareem Abdul-Jabbar?
Kareem Abdul-Jabbar is the answer. That is the right answer.
Shout out to all the media that's doing a hell of a job finding people that are linked to both franchises, because there are a lot more than I realized.
Well, if you listen to Titus and Tate, I told you that Phoenix was due a championship because they had one of the most storied franchises, and they also lost Kareem Abdul-Jabbar on the coin flip. I told America this months ago. I don't either, but I remember saying that at one point. I don't know when. It could have been years ago. It could have been last week. But regardless, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar being there, watching Giannis Antetokounmpo. I saw a very funny video where Kareem was watching the tip, and he has his Bucks stuff on, and the Bucks lose the tip, and he sits down like, I can't believe I'm at this game. and as we all famously remember, he said that the Bucks had zero chance to win the title.
That's right, yeah.
Zero
and now he's
chance.
in Milwaukee.
He went on
with
the
his
jump.
name in the rafters.
Yes, he literally said they had zero chance. So I do like him being a representative. I like that Torrey Craig could win a championship no matter who wins, so it's probably fun for him.
Because this was Deion Waiters last year, right?
Yes.
He was in the same position, but the Lakers won. He was on the Lakers, so you don't have to worry about it. If the Bucks win, does Torrey Craig take the ring?
Yes.
I don't think you can. You say yes.
I think he does.
I don't. That's no. That's a no for me.
It's a ring chasing culture. I think if he has a choice, he's going to take the ring. I mean, he may not. Let's say if they ask him 2 days after the finals, after they lose, I think he says no. But if they string it out 3 weeks, 4 weeks,
I would literally take the ring and sell it. I would pawn it and take the cash, whatever.
Pawn stars.
But I wouldn't go around telling people I'm NBA champion. What is it? I guess the ultimate decision will be the Wikipedia page. Does it say NBA champion Torrey Craig if the Bucks?
I think it has a little blurb that explains that he played in the 2021 finals and was the only player that had played for both teams actively during the season.
Okay.
And he's an NBA champion.
I'm talking about you see his picture. It says his age. It says the teams that he's played for or whatever, and then it says his accomplishments under. You know what I'm talking about? The little, the quick hitter on Wikipedia.
I think if he had not gotten run over by Giannis, and if he had not been such a nuisance, he's such a presence in the series, then I think that there's more of a chance that he can be remembered as a Milwaukee Buck. But the Bucks fans they are not a fan of Torrey Craig.
Yeah.
They feel like he knows their secrets, and they're like, I do not like this guy.
That's a great
being
point.
On the Suns.
If it was a situation where he I don't know, what comes to mind is Nolan Arenado with the Rockies, just because I watched the All-Star game, and I was in Colorado the week before the All-Star game when the Cardinals were playing the Rockies, and every time Nolan Arenado did anything, he'd be sitting at third base and scratch his nuts, and the Rockies fans would give him a standing O and be like, "That's our guy, that's our guy." And I was like, "All right." I mean, how many times every single time he came up to bat, you get a standing O. In the All-Star game, people were going nuts. If it was that sort of thing where Torrey Craig is on the Suns, but everyone in Milwaukee still loves him, he's still. God, we can't tell the story of the Milwaukee Bucks without Torrey Craig.
They're sorry that Torrey Craig got traded.
Then maybe he gets, but I don't. I think I don't know. Who cares? It's not my decision to make.
Well, and I think Torrey Craig already had that type of series against the Nuggets, because I think a lot of Nuggets fans
he's
really
a Nuggets guy.
Yeah, they really like him.
I think it's something about Denver. I think it's all the Denver fans that are just
there's our guy, Torrey Craig.
Except Carmelo, he's the one guy they're like, screw that guy.
Yeah, it is wild that Jokic wears 15 and no one ever brings that up.
Yeah.
I always find that funny. But yeah, talking about the finals last night, it was we talked about inevitability versus destiny, and it does feel like inevitability is winning the race right now. And I saw Monty Williams gave this great speech after the game, talking about on the other side of hard is what you want. But I know a lot of media people took this clip and they're like, what a great moment from Monty Williams, and I agree with that at some level. But it also shows us that the Phoenix Suns have not stared down the barrel of defeat yet. You know what I mean?
Ooh, good point.
I don't like teams that have been happy the whole time. So the entire run, they have been on a high. You know what I mean? They have been, we swept. We're Suns in 4. We beat LeBron. Every single iteration of their run has been success.
They beat
happiness.
LeBron. They beat the MVP.
Yeah.
They beat the Clippers.
That's what I'm saying. So the whole run has been. They have not looked down the barrel of defeat. And the fact that Monty Williams pointed it out, that their heads were down in the locker room, that is not a good sign for the Phoenix Suns. You know what I mean? Because the other team, and Cam Johnson actually said this in his press conference, he was like, the other team was down 0-2, and they obviously didn't have that mentality. They didn't have that same type of feeling of, maybe we aren't supposed to win this thing. The Bucks have never wavered. You know
Bucks
what I mean?
are like, you can't hurt me because I don't feel anything anymore.
Yes.
I'm dead inside.
I've already seen despair.
I've seen the boogeyman.
Yeah.
I'm not scared of him.
And the Nets basically had our entire team. Like Stephen A. went on First Take after Game 2 and said that they have to blow it up. And Giannis made this huge mistake by re-signing in Milwaukee.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So like they've already had all the worst narrative talk. They've already had all this stuff. And Chris Paul, he's been adored the entire run here. And this was the game.
Boy, did it flip.
Yeah, well, Game 4 last night. I mean, I think that was when America was like, you saw the people doing the pull off the mask, and he's
all
Raymond
right. So
Felton.
here's my question about that, because it does feel like we've talked about this throughout the playoffs, how the flip flopping, the Mavs and the Clippers series. The Mavs win the first 2 in LA. It's over.
It's over. Yeah.
Then the Clippers win 2 in Dallas, and it's now over. And then that's a great example. And then it kept happening with all the other series, and certainly it seems like it's happening now in the finals, where the Suns went up 2-0. People really genuinely thought that the Suns might sweep the Bucks. Now it feels like the consensus. I don't know what Vegas says, but this is not a scientific method that I'm using. But my vibes are telling me, reading the tea leaves on the internet, absorbing the way people are talking about this series, it feels like might be leaning towards Milwaukee now, because conventional wisdom, we're going back to conventional wisdom, which is like the team that's kind of been here. They haven't been in the finals, but as you said, they've stared down the barrel of defeat. The team with the best player, the team that plays better defense, the team, like all of these things that the Bucks have checked. We fell in love with Phoenix because of Chris Paul, and like we would love for him to have a ring. Suns and 4 guy was fun. All of those Grand Canyon graduates that are now popping Molly and going to the Suns games are fun. And whatever you call that camera, 8K, whatever they're called.
Isn't it wild that like an 8K camera blurs out? Like it's harder to see.
It's harder.
8K. It's so focused in that it's harder to see.
All of that we got enamored with.
I guess
it.
That's a choice by ESPN, but whatever.
We got enamored with everything. We're like, maybe the Suns now it's flipped to the Bucks. So my question is, do you think that it's the same groups of people? And again, this is very straw man, very unscientific. But do you think like it's the same groups of people that are just flipping back and forth? Or do you think that there is a situation where there are people that believe the Suns are going to win this series, there are people that believe the Bucks are going to win the series, and we only hear from the people when they're right? So like when the Suns are winning, the people that believe in the Bucks are like, I'm going to kind of sit this one out.
Yes,
and kind
those same
live in
people
the
are
shadows.
undecided voters. You know what I mean? It's the same group of people where we all say, I don't think I know that guy or know any of those people. But then they're all around us, and I think that they are literally flip-floppers. You know what I mean? They are going to go with the hottest, headline of the day.
So you think it's that though? You think like there's
no? I think there's a general consensus over here with the Suns and a general consensus over here with the Bucks, and then I think that they are standing strong, and their opinions are relevant because it's biased, right? So we don't listen to the Bucks fans, we don't listen to the Suns fans, we listen to the flip-floppers.
But because I was just thinking from my own experience, like I think the Bucks. I thought before the series started, the Bucks were going to win. I thought because I said the Bucks Nets series, that was like my marker. I was like, whoever wins this, I think is going to win the finals. I haven't really wavered from that. I've thought the Suns have looked great, whatever. But I also, when the Bucks went down 2-0, I wasn't like reminding people I still believe in the Bucks. I was like, all right, I'm gonna sit this one out. And I tiptoed in the.
No, I think we all were waiting for Game 3 to see if the Bucks just turned it back on, and they did. Obviously,
and now it's tied at 2, and I'm back out in the spotlight, and I'm like, baby, I said this all along.
Of
Bucks,
course.
baby, Bucks in 6.
Yeah. And if the Phoenix Suns blow them out by 40 in Game 5, then I start creeping back.
Like Russillo is shouting Chris Paul's praises, and now he's got to kind of
he's like my bad.
But I think that's happening to Chris Paul too, where it's like I watching the game last night and people are ripping Chris Paul apart. I'm like, I swear to God, you were the same people, right? That were
praising him
and saying like, I'm cheering for the Suns because I want Chris Paul to win a ring, right? Or were they not the same people? I don't
think
know.
They're the same people, but I will say Chris Paul and it's worked in the first 3 series, so you can't knock him for doing this, but he has in these games. I mean, I guess saved himself is the best term I can use. Like he is reserving energy for the 4th quarter, right? So a lot of times when you're watching the 1st and 2nd quarter and you see Chris Paul has, 6 points or whatever and 3 assists, I wasn't necessarily concerned because I'm thinking, oh, he's gonna, he's saving himself for the run. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And he doesn't have to do this because Devin Booker is putting up 20-some points in the first half, right?
That's something you learn from LeBron, who would sometimes in big games get the other guys going first.
Yes,
You're
exactly.
Like, oh, I see what LeBron's doing here.
Yeah,
he hasn't shot in the first 3 minutes. I see what this is. I see what's going on
You're
here.
like, well, I think just Dwayne Wade's playing good, but sure. Chris Paul, I thought that was the mentality. I thought that was the mindset. And I thought it was a conscious decision. But I do think mentally, when you have number 34, Giannis Antetokounmpo on the other side, this guy, I have to say this because I have never seen this. Maybe Kevin Garnett is I've never seen someone so hyped up that they have to calm themselves. Like, he is trying to calm himself down, and he's so crazy that they have had to send him back to the locker room in the past 2 games. Like, Giannis Antetokounmpo is so hyped up to play, and when he throws down his first dunk, it's like he's about to break the rim. Like, he's blowing into his hands to calm down. They can't really pass him the basketball early in games because like he can't even dribble because he's like so infused with energy. And I find it, 1, endearing, and 2, insane. You know what I mean? Like, it is. And after the games, when they're doing the post-game press conference, he can't even really, like, when he's talking, like, he's hyperventilating because he's so, like, he's still coming down from this craziness that he's in. And his brother's the same way. So it's like 2 of these people on their team are losing their minds in the moment, literally. So if you're Chris Paul and you're like this veteran, and again, destiny is right in front of you, you expect to be there, you expect to win, you think, all signs are saying I'm going to be an NBA champion, but then you look over and this 7-foot majestic freak is losing his mind, literally, like cannot calm down, cannot control himself because he wants to destroy you. It does have to creep in at some point. And that block that he had, he baited Devin Booker into throwing that alley. He turned his body and baited him into it and then spun into one of the greatest blocks you'll ever see in such a pivotal moment. And he had 26 points, and I swear I don't remember him scoring. You know what I'm saying? Like, he can have 30 points and have a bad game. Yeah. That's how dominant and enraged he is. It's maniacal.
That block was so good that I didn't even react when I first saw it because my brain was trying to process what just happened. It was one of those deals where I was like,
an amazing
this
lob.
Dude just did this? That was John Starks.
Yeah, literally, this dude just did this. The pass was amazing. And the craziest part about it is that DeAndre Ayton heard footsteps, like, to use those terms. Like, he saw Giannis coming and was like, oh, damn, like, he read this. Like, he saw the lob there, and he baited him into the lob because if he takes that mid-range, it's probably going to go in because Booker has made everything he looked at all night. So it's like you bait the guy to take basically the secondary thing that he wants to do there because he's like, I can't not throw the lob. He's wide open. But really, he baited him into it, and it was incredible.
You talking about Giannis?
I got to breathe into my hands to calm down because I'm so fired up.
My knowledge of Marvel lore isn't great, but I just picture, like, isn't that something that happened in the Marvel movies where, like, they have the Incredible Hulk who's out of his mind and they have to, like, find a way to, like, harness it? And find that middle ground
with the Hulk. I mean, that's like and that is Giannis.
That's Giannis.
No, seriously. He said after the game, he was like, I had to think a tinkle. He like makes a joke out of it, but it's like, Bud can't even talk to him. He's like, dude, calm down. His brother tried to bear hug him in game 3 when he came to the bench. He literally was like trying to take some of the energy out of his body. That's how hyped up he is to be here. This is how much it means to him. And when you have someone on the other side in a competition that is that insanely driven, it's hard to beat.
So I guess, like, why discussing the NBA is the dumbest, as we know. It is the dumbest discourse that exists in sports punditry.
Agreed.
It is everyone who does it for a living, and I'm going to throw us in there because we dabble in the NBA. We apply the same mechanisms to the college level. We're just amateurs at it. We're not as good as the big boys, but we do our best. It is the dumbest thing in the world in that you could just boil everything down into, like, just very simple things, which is my way of saying, has everyone overthought this, Tate? That the Bucks should be the clear favorites because Giannis Antetokounmpo is much, much better than every other player. Devin Booker's awesome.
Yes.
Devin Booker's an awesome scorer. Devin Booker does not block DeAndre Ayton on a lob. Devin Booker is not a freakish defender.
But if Kobe Bryant in 2000 was on the Phoenix Suns and he played Shaq and the Lakers, who's winning that series? Shaq and the Lakers.
Right.
No matter how great Kobe would be, and he would be great, we all know that. And that's what Devin Booker is doing. But the dominance that comes from Giannis or Shaq.
It almost feels like the Suns have the three parts of Giannis and Booker, Ayton, and Chris Paul, and like you put those three together, and it's kind of Giannis. Which is it's not a 1-to-1 comparison because Giannis can't shoot obviously, and Booker's. But like that's what it feels like.
Yes.
And when Phoenix has all three of those parts together clicking, then maybe they can contend. But the Bucks every game, the next if they're going to play 3 more games, Giannis is going to bring in all 3 games. And the only hope that Phoenix has is that all 3 of those guys play well, which granted they have for most of the playoffs, but they didn't last night. And maybe that's as simple as that. Maybe it's like the Bucks going into the game, the Bucks, like if Giannis balls out, because I think everyone was pointing, like everyone thought it was the opposite. Everyone thought it was like the Bucks need Drew Holiday and Chris Middleton to play well to have a chance. I don't think they do. I mean, they've been playing better, but is it not just that simple?
It is that simple.
Is it not just that simple that Giannis is the best player? And that's all. That's all we need.
Well, we live in the stat sheet era, right? So, like, the stats of Giannis, when you look at it and you say he misses 7 free throws and, he was 0 for 4 from the three-point. Like, you look at it and you say, oh, well, he didn't have a great game tonight. But at the end of the day, he dominates the game on both ends of the floor. And there's not even anyone close. The only person that's close to him is DeAndre Ayton. And the reason why Phoenix is feeding Ayton early in these games is because they're saying, we got to get our guy who's dominating on the defensive end involved in the game so that we get him active and we get him lathered up and get him going. But even when they have that, DeAndre Ayton is still going to be B to the A, which is Giannis. And Giannis has the confidence. And that wall that they're building, like I can't remember what movie it is, but it's like a monster, and they're like, he's learning, and everyone's like looking around, they're like, oh man, he's learning. Like Giannis is learning how to beat this wall. He's like,
is it Frankenstein?
Yeah, maybe. I was like, I thought it was Frankenstein, but like, I'm like lost in my own head because you started talking about Marvel people, and I'm like, I can't even think of Frankenstein right now. I'm like thinking of Loki. But Giannis is learning, on the fly. He has no fundamental footwork at all. He has no jump shot at all. And he scored 40 points in back-to-back finals games.
Yeah.
I think that's why I'm so amazed. I'm like, this guy's he hasn't even scratched the surface of what he could be as a basketball player, as we talked about, like playing basketball. But his natural talent and ability and heart, it's unmatched.
By the way, speaking of scoring 40 points in the finals, Chris Middleton scored 40 last night. Thoughts and prayers to him that he hits big shot after big shot, scores 40 points, and all we want to talk about is like Giannis and Devin Booker fouling 35 times in that game, and Chris Paul sucking, and on and on and on. And Chris Middleton's like, y'all have killed me forever, though. Like, I have to show up for us to have a chance. I scored 40 in the finals.
Well, and guess who it reminds me of? Scottie Pippen. You know what I mean? Where Scottie Pippen would have these incredible games, basically be the reason that the Bulls would win games because he was basically a point forward, or would be able to, kind of get the team assembled late in games. And nobody would say, man, Scottie, what a great job. They would say, man, Michael Jordan did it again. You know what I mean?
Michael,
And that's what's happening to Chris Middleton. And the fact that they have their own rivalry where, like, Chris Middleton sees Giannis playing good and then wants to be better than him. I've slowly fallen in love with the entire Bucks team.
Yeah.
Seriously.
Yeah.
Seriously.
I've kind of been in love with them.
Yeah. I mean, I have been in love, but I also, like, I know
what you mean.
There's shortcomings. There were shortcomings, and
to me, it feels like the Bucks are Virginia. That was always the comparison I made. It was like they are a very good regular season team. They fall apart in the postseason because there's an obvious flaw to their strategy. And in the Bucks case, it was like your best player, the guy that every other team, when they build around their best player, that best player is going to get the ball at the end of games and make clutch shots. You cannot do that. That is that's
Chris Middleton for this team.
So now you throw Chris Middleton is elevated to that level where he can be that guy, and now all of a sudden the Bucks, and the same way that like the problems with Virginia with that they never had a plan B. Suddenly you have DeAndre Hunter and Kyle Guy and Ty Jerome, and it's like here's our plan B, bitch. And plan B was Kihei Clark thrown at the Duke thing for a floater, I guess. I don't know where I'm going with this analogy.
Yeah, no, it was the other two guys. But it feels like Pat Connaughton. I mean, to keep making Bulls references, it does feel like Pat Connaughton could have a John Paxson type shot in Phoenix.
Oh, okay.
You know what I'm saying?
All right.
Both went to Notre Dame.
Keep going. PJ Tucker's Dennis Rodman.
Yeah,
obviously.
That's what I'm saying. Like, you could go through and piecemeal this together, and you could say, oh, they have all the pieces to really do this. Brooke Lopez, Bill Cartwright. I'm not even kidding. You could really piece this whole thing together, and I don't know. I mean, as I've watched this series, I can tell that Phoenix is a little bit wavering because they feel it, and the Bucks they've never wavered the entire time.
Speaking of Pat Connaughton, can we quickly just shout this man out for plus 21 in this game? And I realize plus minus in a individual game is not The stat nerds don't love that when you use that as like a as a point, but when it helps your case, use
I love
it.
when the stat nerds don't like when you use stats.
Yeah, that's a good point.
I was like, I think it sounds like you just don't like when I use stats.
Yeah.
Oh, but
he's
Pat
plus 21, but
man.
it wasn't. I don't just want to pull out the point out the plus 21 with Connaughton. What I want to point out is this dude is put in a position. No Dante DiVincenzo for the Bucks, as we know. He has been put in a position where he should not be playing. How many? 32 minutes last night. He should not be playing 32 minutes in the finals game. Pat Connaughton knows that. Like he'd be the first to tell you that. He's like, I should be playing like 15 to 20. That's my sweet spot. I do not need to be out for 32 minutes. But when he's out there, he's like, I'm gonna be out here. Let's get after it and let's do it. And that's hard, dude, because like a lot of these guys in his position would be like trying to stay out of the way and whatever. He at all times he's on the court. He's trying to have an impact, and there are stretches. There was like one little stretch where it felt like he was doing a little too much, and he was missing open three, whatever. Yeah. But then he follows it up with like an offensive rebound putback. Like the guy just plays his balls off.
And shout out to Coach Bud, because he has been getting killed, obviously, forever. Like, you know what I mean? Literally, if you've watched the Hawks back in the day, like everyone always can point to Coach Bud and say, that was a very head-scratching thing that he just did right there. But the fact that he went home, believed in his bench, went to his bench early with Bobby Portis and Pat Connaughton, that said to me, oh, wow, this team they have not wavered in their confidence at all. Yeah. And then Pat Connaughton, he gets out there. He's playing really well. He believes in him and keeps him out there. Same with Bobby Portis in Game 3. So I give kudos to the coaching staff for, for saying, hey, these guys sucked in Phoenix. They were a liability. Like, Pat Connaughton was a liability in Phoenix. Yeah. So, like, after those first two games, usually you maybe look at your bench and say, well, I don't think we can go to Bobby. I don't think we can go to Pat early because they struggle. These aren't the right matchups for them, yada, yada, yada. But instead they got home. They're like, these guys are comfortable. But let's get them in the game early so that they feel comfortable. And then we're good. And then we save Giannis and Chris and Drew for winning time, you know? And I'm so tired of hearing clutch time. If I hear clutch time one more
time. You're rebranding it as winning time?
No, it's crunch time.
Crunch time.
It's nut crunching time.
It's crunch time.
It's not nut clutching time.
You don't clutch your nuts.
That would be a charge.
Yeah.
That would be a charge.
You're setting.
I'm not a charge guy. So you're not a charge guy.
You're not clutching.
No, we're crunching.
We're crunching our nuts.
It is crunch time.
Okay. And then you're clutch in crunch.
Yes.
Time, which is confusing.
That's
you
confusing.
Know what I mean?
I think that's the problem. That's the problem.
But if it's clutch time, you'd have to come up crunch in the clutch time.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know.
Just say crunch time, and then he was clutch.
If the Bucks pull this off, Budenholzer, who, if you follow the NBA
he's getting
Twitter,
an extension, no doubt.
No, if you pay attention to what the people say about these guys, I mean, you would think this guy's a
bumbling idiot,
a bumbling idiot that they pulled off the street. That he's a Ted Lasso type that they're purposely trying to lose, and they hired this guy. Which I find fascinating, because if the Bucks pull this off, that's back-to-back years where an absolute buffoon idiot, according to the world, has been the head coach of NBA champion.
I mean, which, I have to say, when he did say play random, like they did like a little clip before game one, and he's like, play hard, play smart, play random. Yeah. I was like, what? You know what I mean? Like,
no.
I'm going
to disagree. I like it.
I like it a little bit, but I also, that's very Ted Lasso.
Isn't that what coaching is, though? Like, ultimately, is like, if it works, it's genius. If it doesn't, you're an idiot.
Yes.
The triangle offense would be the dumbest thing in the world if it didn't work for Phil Jackson. If you didn't have Michael Jordan, Phil Jackson's probably a moron. Well, why would you do it this way, Phil?
And the first time they ran the triangle against the bad boy Pistons, the Pistons still won. Yeah. And they talked about after the game that their new offense sucked and all this stuff. Yeah. You know what I mean? So, like, it doesn't always work day one, too. You know what I mean? Sometimes it has to build and get there.
That's how I feel about all of the mantras. A lot of college football coaches use mantras and stuff. Like, if you're winning games, they're cool and people rally behind them, and it is what it's fun. If you're not winning, you're like, this is the corniest shit I've ever seen.
I covered Larry Fedora. He had 3 words in his vocabulary: smart, fast, and physical.
So, and if Carolina is
when Gio Bernard was playing for us and winning games, I was like, smart, fast, and physical, baby. Yeah. And then by 2015, I was like, this guy has to get something else. He has to say something else. Yeah. Please.
So to that point, if the Bucks win, play random, dude. I'm about it.
I might wear a shirt that says play random.
I'm gonna be like coaching kids up. I'm just gonna be like going to the parks in LA and just be like, come on, kids, let's play random. Here we go. I'm like, who are you, sir?
Coach Bud.
All right, a little Team USA talk because I think Tate and I are the only two guys who genuinely. This isn't true. I don't know why I said that. I said that to make us seem special.
I wanted to see what it was. That was good.
That was a little tricky, dude. Where you're just like, yeah, we're different than. We're not like those other podcasters. We actually care. But no, we earnestly care. I will say that it does. I do feel like there are a lot of people who are. Probably,
I've heard Friday Beers cares more.
Yes.
But that's the only other podcast that cares more.
There are probably a lot of people who are just popping into the party to pile on Team USA and be like, "You're losing. You
Those
suck."
are the flip floppers that we talked about.
And what I'm saying is that if USA was beating everybody by 1,000, we would still be. You and I would still be watching every game. And like we love this shit. We get excited about it. And there's a new development. Number one, we beat Argentina. Number two, Luis Scola, which doesn't have anything to do with USA, has completely rebranded himself and has gone through a glow up. And I think we just have to tip our cap to him.
He's the Kim Kardashian of basketball.
And number three, Bradley Beal is now off Team USA. He's done.
He's out.
He's out.
Yes.
Jeremy Grant
is in protocols.
Is in protocols, which I don't know what exactly that.
I think that's on the line of out.
Is that quarantine? Have we substituted? Is quarantine out and protocol is now the new word? Like, what's the difference between protocol and quarantine?
I have no idea.
We have a blackmail extortion situation.
All I know is that Chris Paul and LeBron James both were in quarantine or protocols, and they both had different designations.
I guess like saying protocol, they're in protocols makes it sound like you're doing something. What if protocol is just like, I don't know, drink more water, and that's what the protocol is in this situation? Whatever, you know.
Or just like sit over there and we'll check you in 10 hours.
Yeah, but like you see the news report and you're like, oh man, they're really on top of this.
Yeah,
like,
they're handling this.
They're handling it in protocol.
Where were they going out? You know what I mean? That's the other question.
Yeah, I'm confused by this because I don't understand how these guys got put in a situation where it might be dicey. Where are they right now playing, by the way?
I have no idea.
Oh.
I assumed that they were in Colorado Springs. That's what I always think. So I was thinking to myself.
No, they are in Las Vegas.
They are in Las Vegas.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, which I think I have argued with myself.
Wow. So this is a disaster. Yeah, I mean, keep them in Colorado Springs.
Yeah. I've argued with myself.
I thought they were back training. You know what I mean? I thought it was like flying to Vegas, play games, then we go back, then we come. I thought that.
I think they're just hanging out in Vegas all the time, which this is what I've been debating with myself about, is that losing to Nigeria, losing to Australia, obviously bad. We had lost 2 exhibition games, whatever it was.
50 years.
50 years. Going back to the invention of basketball, and then Greg Popovich takes over, and we've lost 2 in a row. Part of me wants to believe that the biggest culprit in all of this, we are all overthinking all of this as well. Like, it's not about the rim protection of Team USA. It's not about we have too many guys that are trying to score 25 a game like they did in the NBA, and we need more guys that are just going to move the ball and do the dirty work. I don't think it's that. What if it's just as simple as they're in Las Vegas?
Yes.
They're NBA players in Las Vegas, and they have been in a quarantine type situation in a bubble last year for the playoffs. Even this year in the NBA was a weird year. What if it's just as simple as that these guys are just getting buck wild in Vegas, and that's why we're losing these exhibition games that don't count? But if that isn't in fact the case, Tate, I then followed up with this. Does that mean when they get to Tokyo, they're going to lock in and say, now's winning? Exactly. That's my fear, is like when they get to Tokyo, they're going to be like,
Tokyo's more fun than Vegas.
Yes. I'll be like, where's the strip clubs here?
Yeah, exactly.
Like, that's what they're going to say.
Yeah.
Let's keep the party going. That's my fear. Because I want to believe that it's just like once they get out of Vegas, we'll be fine. They'll lock in, whatever. But that is the fear. Is they'll be like,
well, that was the fear with Brazil, right?
Yeah,
Brazil, they put them on a boat because they were saying, look, if we can, at least we can monitor who comes on and off the boat. You know what I mean? Like, we're not in a situation where we have no idea. Like, we have an idea. In 2004, they did it because of 9/11, things like that. So they also stayed on a boat. But it may have also had the other part of it too, which is like we can monitor the situation. I don't think that there's much monitoring to be done in Vegas. I mean, that is just, that seems like like you're just chasing your tail at that point. I mean, you're not going to be able to catch, what's happening. Guys are going to tell you, like, if Greg Popovich asked Bradley Beal, what'd you do last night? He's like, I just went out for a little bit, it wasn't no thing.
Yeah.
Can't believe this. I'm shocked.
Yeah.
Please believe me, coach. You know what I mean? I don't think they're doing anything egregious.
Well, I mean, to that point, like, if at the time we're living in now, like, this is like, if Bradley Beal went out and that's like how he broke pro, like, whatever, I don't care.
I don't care either.
I don't care. Like, the world's back open, is
exactly.
it? I mean, although in LA we just saw.
Yeah, it's not. But I mean,
yeah. So like, this isn't an instance of like break. I don't mean to bring up Vegas, though. These guys are supposed to be in the NBA bubble, and they're.
No.
Breaking that. I just mean it as like, are they focused on beating Australia and Nigeria, or are they focused on bottle service at the club in Vegas?
Well,
and I'm sure it's...
I mean, let's be honest. And then if you're an NBA star, which is like the whole team, I think I saw you say this. It was like it looked like they went down a roster and they just were like, this guy averages 27, we want him. This guy is 26, we want him. And the fact that Greg Popovich and Steve Kerr, I don't know how much they were the roster construction itself, but whoever constructed the roster has never watched a FIBA game in their life.
Right.
It feels that way, at least. Like, it makes no sense who was on this team.
Or it's like a 14-year-old that plays a lot of 2K and like has built like a super team before, and he did it by just looking at the overall rating for each player.
Yes.
And it was like
91.
Just add them all.
Yes.
And then it worked. I won the title. I went 82-0 in the regular season, won the title. You guys should do that. It's like, yeah, maybe it's Steve Kerr's son that said we should do this. And Popovich is like, cool, let's do it that way.
Yeah, he's like, perfect, Steve, good call. But also, those two guys are champions. They're also champions within a system that has one star that's kind of, helped make their notoriety and one way of playing, right? The fact that Team USA has decided we're going to play small ball with Draymond at the 5. What?
Yeah.
Like, the one advantage that we've had is a Tyson Chandler or a Dwight Howard. Like, the fact that Dwight Howard didn't get a call is crazy to me.
Yeah.
How is Dwight Howard not on the team? I know that,
That sounds, but to your point, this is not an all-star team. This is not a list of, there should not be a list of the 13, 15 best players.
No, this is a
NBA.
basketball team if you want to go win the gold medal, which it does not seem like this team was constructed to do that. This team was constructed to be some sort of super dream team of amazing scoring talent.
It's hilarious that when you do this in the NBA, when you build a super team in the NBA, a la the Brooklyn Nets, and you put all three of these guys together, all three ball dominant type, Kyrie Irving, James Harden, Kevin Durant, and you throw them together, and you say to yourself, this team is very talented.
Yeah.
This, maybe the top of all the teams, the top 3 most talented players. This might be the most talented top 3.
The best 2K team around
of all time, right?
Yeah.
But we got to have the talk, Tate. There's only one ball. Can they share the ball? Can they play well together? We got to see it first. You got to see if they can gel. If they can, like that. That's what happens every time a super team gets formed in the NBA.
Yes.
When you do it with Team USA, you're like, we're sick, dude. We're nasty. We're gonna crush everybody, and no one stops to think like, dude, we need a guy. We need a Bill Cartwright.
I mean, straight up.
We need a guy that just like, we're going to tell him all we want you to do is go out there.
We need Kyle
set
Lowry.
Screens. Yeah.
We need
Mike Conley.
Yes, Mike Conley.
Move the ball,
we
play
need John
defense.
Morant. We need a point guard, a legit point guard. And look, Dame Lillard is awesome, but Dame Lillard has never played FIBA basketball. So you're basically asking a guy who's coming in blind to a new sport, because as much as we act like it's basketball, it's not. College basketball is different than NBA basketball. NBA basketball is different than, FIBA.
I think college is closer to FIBA than NBA is.
Exactly.
FIBA. Yeah,
and it's
sure.
40 minutes.
Yeah.
And a lot of these guys, when does Dame Lillard always show up in a game? Winning time.
Yeah.
And guess what?
Crunch time.
Yeah. Well, that happens they're playing 40-minute games in FIBA. That's 48 minutes in the NBA. So the last 8 minutes that he's used to really lock in is no longer there.
That'd be hilarious if he said that in the Nigeria post-game press conference. He's like, listen, man, I was ready to turn it on, and I looked up and the clock was
game
zero.
over. I'm like confused.
I was waiting for those last 8 minutes, and they never came.
Yeah, exactly.
Bullshit.
But that's how it feels. And the fact that, I think the hubris of Pop and Kerr, they're not going to make any changes, like vast changes.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised if they bump up like Keldon Johnson from the select team.
Yeah.
Instead of going to get a point guard like you and I are talking about, because they're like, we already have our roster. We're all set. We're going to get Devin Booker, and Drew Holiday is going to be that point guard. But I still think Drew Holiday, I mean, he can do that at some level, but you need someone that's going to pick up these European teams like Dellavedova and like press them. Like Russell Westbrook would be perfect.
Yeah.
Russell Westbrook is a dog, and he's
you're right, but also, if Russell Westbrook gets put on this team, I think that's a very
if Russell Westbrook gets put on this team, then he and Kevin Durant might be fighting over who's the star of the team. Yeah,
that's a very unpopular decision.
It's really tough.
What if Dakota Mathias gets the call up?
I mean,
what if Dakota Mathias is like, that's like a Disney movie that gets made. Where
yes,
it's like,
Dakota.
It's called Dakota. how I won a gold medal on Team USA.
A follow up to Luka. From the creators of Luka comes Dakota.
And he just sneaks his way onto the team, and he plays the Christian Laettner role.
We don't need any more shooting.
We really don't.
I'm so tired of watching Jason Tatum.
That's the most frustrating part to me is that if you're putting together a team, if you're really and you realize the pool of talent we have in America, I guess like the first calls are obviously your Durant's and your LeBron's, and your Curry's, and whatever. But outside of like get those guys, get the guys that are GOAT tier guys. The first two things I would think you would want to do is lock up like a point guard play, a guy that's going to move the ball, and because you're going to know, no matter who you put on the team, when you look at the roster, you're going to say we have plenty of scoring, almost no matter who you put on it. If you're America, so you want a point guard that's going to just be pass first basically and set everything up and play
set
defense.
Everything up. That's what they need.
Which I guess Drew Holiday might end up playing that role, right?
He can do that.
He's gonna be out of there. But that's what you need. Number two, you need rim protection.
Yes.
And this team has neither one of those.
Zero.
And
you're asking Kevin Durant, I guess, to be a rim protector, or Draymond can't be a rim protector. You're asking Bam Adebayo to. I mean, Bam Adebayo is obviously most famous play as the block on Jason Tatum, but he's not like a rim protector. JaVale McGee would have been a great fit for this team. Like I'm not even like I say this, and people. Jared Allen is probably the right answer, but like I would take two-time champion JaVale McGee or Dwight Howard, who's already played, and get them on the team.
Why not? And then people like scratch their heads and they wonder why Carmelo is so much better in FIBA rules than he is, or like why is Carmelo
He's a mismatch.
awesome?
He plays the four.
Because it's like I don't know, it's the same reason the guy was awesome in Syracuse.
Yeah. Seriously.
Like it's not that complicated because FIBA is more closely to college basketball than it is the NBA.
And it's a more physical game.
Yeah.
And Carmelo's a big guy.
Great.
He's like, I'll play the like KD is gonna play the four and be great.
Yeah.
Like that's where he fits in he's like a tweener.
But KD will also like he'll post up and someone will throw a forearm in his back as he's like doing a fadeaway. And he'll look at the ref and be like, "What? That's a foul 100% of the time in the NBA." And the ref will say, "This is not the NBA. Get your ass back on."
Yeah, no, I saw a lot of
I don't know why I thought the ref had
that was good. I thought that Jason Tatum and it was like Tatum, Lillard, like they had these shots of them like staring down the referees.
Yeah,
and I find that hilarious because it used to be that the Euro League and stuff wanted to be the NBA. They wanted to match that physicality.
Right.
And now they're more physical than our game. And if you're Luka Doncic and you thrive in this FIBA game, this FIBA world, if you're Mike Tobey, who's his number two, if you're Mike Tobey and Luka Doncic, like you are literally salivating at the idea of playing the US. Seriously.
Yeah.
Like it's perfect because they're going to start fighting amongst each other eventually. I think they already are. We don't know that yet, but like they're going to start pointing fingers.
I think
unless they get a point guard who can say, point the finger at me and give me the ball, and then I'll decide who shoots and who gets it and who's hot and all that sort of stuff.
I feel like Luka's going to be the final pulling of the thread that undoes this country.
Yes,
and that
it could be.
When Luka Doncic, if in fact he plays the United States, I feel like half of this country, half of the red-blooded Americans in this country,
start pulling
tax-paying Americans,
they start pulling for Slovenia. Yeah. The people that have American flags hanging outside their house are pulling for Slovenia.
Yes. They have American flag tattoos on their body, and they're like at the tattoo removal place.
Yeah. Put that Slovenia flag right here.
They're like, sir, what you brought in is not the Slovenia flag.
Yes.
Like, I don't. Just put whatever this is.
Yeah. One of them. Yeah, I mean, can you believe Mike Tobey's the number 2 guy for Slovenia, by the way? Mike Tobey, Virginia fans.
I think that's why I like the I like the Olympic basketball or the FIBA because like guys like and Luis Scola, they like guys that pop up. Even Dellavedova, like when's the last time anybody cared about Della? Is he still in the league? I don't think he is. He just signed with Australia League, right?
Yeah, I think he was in Cleveland, but then he's out now.
When was the last time anyone talked about Matthew Dellavedova? Suddenly you're watching him. You're watching like St. Mary's.
Dude, or Jock Landell.
Yeah, I was going to say.
I was
Jock
so happy
Landell,
to see
Patty
Jock
Mills.
balling. I was like, oh, man, I missed
It was basically St. Mary's versus the United States, and they won.
Great for Gonzaga. W for Gonzaga.
St. Mary's should get an auto bid to this year's tournament, just based on that alone.
I think half of America would think St. Mary's is a country. That same half we were talking about.
You're going to hear Dick Vitale use that as a bullet point if St. Mary's gets snubbed this year.
Yeah.
He'd be like, listen. They beat America.
Yeah. Team USA, you remember that?
Oh man! Speaking of college basketball, couple bullet points to talk about. Transfer decision. Number 1, Marcus Carr, a man that I want so far out of my face. I cannot. I would pay I will pay if transfer fees are like European soccer and you have to pay the other club however transfer fees were. I just realized as I started that sentence I don't actually know how transfer fees work in European soccer. I just know they exist. I would pony up the money for Marcus Carr to transfer out of the Big Ten, but I don't need to because he said he's gonna transfer. Today, word breaks that he is going to either transfer to Texas or overseas and play professionally. So that's where we've landed on the Marcus Carr decision. That Chris Beard. I still think, by the way, Kevin O'Banner, the guy from Oral Roberts who beat Florida and almost beat Arkansas, he just announced that he's going to Texas Tech. And in my brain, Kevin O'Banner announcing to Texas Tech, I was like, that's a great get for Chris Beard. Yeah. Then I see Marcus Carr is going to Texas. And I said, that's a great gift for Chris Beard.
Yeah, Chris Beard is winning both Texas
I believe
schools.
that Chris Beard is coaching both schools still.
Yes.
I don't know how I reconcile that because like it's not a situation of I forgot that he went to Texas. I know he went to Texas. I just still think he's coaching Texas Tech as well.
It does feel a little bit like how Larry Brown is at Memphis, but he still runs SMU. Yes. You know what I mean? Like, like his imprint is still over here with Jankovic and all those guys. So it's like Chris Beard is thriving. The Texas Tech fans probably still love him, you know, deep down. They're probably a little hurt. They're probably a little hurt, but he went to his alma mater, you know what I mean? So like I think that was the way he could get out of it.
Ultimately, you have to know it's coming, but when Texas plays at Texas Tech, I don't think
it's not going to be fun.
He's not getting Nolan Arenado treatment.
No. But I think if you just have like it's a difference between like the person, like the Texas Tech fan, the person you talk to, they're like, I still love Chris Beard.
Yeah,
but the people,
the mob
hate Chris Beard.
The mob hates him. Yeah,
that's how it works.
So Marcus Carr is a big. O'Banner was kind of a big decision as well.
Yeah.
But
he backed out of his North Carolina visit. I hated it.
Oh, that's right. You thought he might.
Well, I like to needle you a little bit that he could go to North Carolina, but
why would you needle me? I don't understand why that would be relevant.
That's right. I forgot you didn't go to Florida.
Yeah, well, like a Gators fan. I don't care about. I liked O'Banner. I thought he was awesome in the tournament. It's a shame Ohio State didn't get a chance to,
man. If only
play him.
If only they got to play that game.
But you know, it's the way it goes. For me, O'Banner was less about where he's transferring and more that he's transferring from Oral Roberts, which is like when he announced that, I was like, that sucks because Ace Smith is back. They could have been awesome. Ace Smith is still gonna be awesome. Maybe this is gonna like make Ace Smith even better.
Yeah, he's like now I get all the touches.
But I feel like it's gonna be more of a.
Ace Smith is giving me Steph Curry coming back for the next year vibes.
I agree.
Yeah.
And I think Ace Smith is going to have one of those seasons that seem to happen every season in college basketball where 5'9" dude like Marcus Keene or Chris Clemens or something
is like leading the NCAA
is averaging like
scoring.
34 points a game and no one notices or cares.
Yeah.
That feels like what Ace Smith is going to do.
Yeah. And shout out to Chris Clemens.
So Marcus Carr is a big name that had to make a decision. The other big name, perhaps the biggest name.
Yeah.
Kofi Cockburn has whittled his list down to 3. He is announcing on Friday, so probably today for most of you.
Yeah, you probably know what's happening.
You already know what's happening. If you're hearing this, it's too late.
Yes,
it's already done.
Literally.
He is announcing between Kentucky, between Florida State, and between Illinois. Wait, what? He might go back to Illinois?
Yes.
Is that an announcement? Is this peak? We've reached. I guess Daryl Morcell saying I might go to the draft. I might come back. I might go overseas, or I might transfer. That's peak like announcement of nothing. But if Kofi Cockburn is in fact coming back, I mean that's exciting for Illinois fans because they have had nothing go right in this offseason. But at the same time, part of me is like, this has to be peak like graphic. Make a graphic, make an announcement, whittle it down, like all that, just to say like I'm going to continue
to play where I'm already playing. Yes, I'm going to stay where I'm
going to keep doing what I'm doing.
Yes.
I'm not going to move out of my apartment.
It also shows that people love, I think, you know, the culture of college basketball. Like the recruitment process is like an adored process for the player because it's one of the only times that they get to be wooed. You know what I mean? So like when you enter the transfer portal, right now you're getting all of these coaches and they're singing a different tune than they were when they were your coach.
Yes.
So. Yes. I'm sure that's fun for Kofi Cockburn.
Yeah. It just feels like if he's going back to Illinois, which all the smoke says.
I mean, Kentucky basically already said that he is not coming to Kentucky.
Not the podcast, all the smoke, but like the phrase, the smoke coming out of the Cockburn camp, if we'll call it that. Yeah, Kentucky's already said. What they say, Cal didn't even talk to him, which I don't buy. Are you kidding me?
I don't buy it for a second.
I believe that John Calipari has talked to literally every single player in college basketball that's averaged more than 15 points a game. Every single one.
And I don't have the facts, but yes,
he hasn't recruited them necessarily, but he's talked to him. He's like somehow like
he's
slid to the
reached out.
DM and been like, great game.
Yeah.
Even if it's just that.
Love your game.
Love your game.
Cal.
Yeah. Even if it's a double tap on Instagram, he's at least done that. So I'm not buying that, but all the smoke coming out of Lexington is that he's definitely not going there. So that would leave Florida State and Illinois. We said this when we were texting about it today that I want him to go to Illinois. I want him to come back to Illinois, even though I'm a big.
It's great for college basketball. If he goes back to Illinois.
I think Illinois fans deserve it too, and I think Illinois could be really good.
I mean, Curbelo and Kofi and Trent Frazier.
Dude, that's a fun story too. That Illinois was kind of left for dead, and now Kofi comes back and they're
revitalizes everything.
But man, the more I thought about it, I was like, this dude is a Florida State player, is he not? Is this not like it's like how did he not end up at Florida State in the first place?
If someone's listening right now and he chose Florida State, just know that it makes so much sense.
Yeah.
I mean, and Leonard Hamilton would be great for him. I'm happy that Florida State's in the mix here. You know what I mean? That because it just feels like they have their identity. They looked around the transfer portal and they said, "There's only one guy that could pass our airport test."
The airport test.
That's what
Kofi
they do. Cockburn.
Yeah.
And that's all we care about. And I think Kofi's got to be flattered by that. I thought it was Matt Jones that I saw put out the whole story saying that Kentucky loved Kofi, but they already have Oscar,
which is a fair point, I should say, because like even when they were talking about Kofi maybe going to Kentucky, that was my first thought. I was like, what about Shoeboy, dude? Like he left West Virginia
to be your guy,
to be your guy, and now are you gonna play him next to each other? I mean, Cal's stupid enough, crazy enough to do it.
I was gonna say, and then Cal and the Kentucky media, Matt Jones, we love Matt Jones, but he basically said that Kentucky, had decided to pull out of contention, so to speak.
Yeah.
And that is so out of character of this team, a team that ran a platoon system.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like their whole MO is like, let's stack with the most talent.
Stack the deck and we'll figure it out.
Exactly. Yeah. So, like, the fact that they have now decided that they are not going to go by that philosophy, either Cal really got shook up by that 1-7 start, as you can tell by their scheduling, or, literally Kofi, he already knows that Kofi's going back to Illinois, so they just got ahead of it, it feels like that.
I had a guy slide into the DMs and put this on my radar, so I'm accepting it as fact.
Perfect.
That Kofi, I think deep down maybe if he was going to leave Illinois, because I don't mean to put it out there that he definitely wanted to leave Illinois. If in fact he's going back to Illinois, then disregard that I said any of this. But as he was exploring his options, I bought into this theory that he was interested in going to Kansas because Bill Self's great with big. We talked about it on the show. Like that's if you're a big man that wants the ball, Kansas makes a lot of sense. But Kansas doesn't have scholarships basically, and apparently. According to this guy, who might not even be, who knows, it's Twitter DM. That's what I'm trying to say.
Is this the same guy that said Brad Stevens to IU locked? Okay.
Yes. No, he said.
His damn DMers.
He said, I think Kansas is his theory. I'll put it that way. Like I don't think this guy is. So I think he's like this is my theory, and I was like. Done. I'm taking it for my own. Was that Kansas was over the scholarship limit, and they were exploring a way to use name, image, likeness to like get guys paid to like. But then they realized that's probably breaking the rule. But then they also realized we're Kansas.
Yeah, and
so why
and wink,
are we doing
we
this?
Do this.
Yeah. So there was that, and I remember reading that and like getting excited about it because I was like, oh my god, I think Kofi's going to Kansas, and then he's not going to Kansas.
Can you imagine Kofi Cockburn announcing he was transferring to Kansas as a walk-on?
Dude, can you imagine? Can you imagine Kofi Cockburn announces that and just he announces it by playing the Cliff Alexander footage and photoshops his face on top of Cliff Alexander's, reaches for the Illinois hat, grabs the Kansas hat.
Man, Illinois fans, he's coming home. I think he's got to come back.
What could possibly go wrong is my question. Like as far as him coming, like it's so far in the bag, I don't know how it could possibly go wrong.
Florida State is a deep dark horse that I am worried about. But I did see like there was some fan, I can't remember what he actually wrote out, but it was basically like come back Kofi, and he like rode a bike 8 miles and like spelled it in like the grass or whatever, and like so like. Kofi Cockburn.
Like built a corn maze?
Like I don't even know how he did. I can't. I think it was like his like he like tracked it on his map. You know what I'm saying?
Like the map
and then he like put it out. It was like you know. Basically, we love you, Kofi. And I think the real holdup, right, with Kofi was that the Illinois fans were so terrible to him. You know, we just saw it with England after those 3 guys missed the PKs.
Yes.
I mean, they're dealing with some of the worst comments you can see. Kofi's been dealing with that his entire time there. So I think the fans endearing themselves, you know, showing that they want him to come back, that's good news too.
Okay. All right.
I believe he's coming back.
Well,
we have no sources on this, but I believe he's coming back. If he goes to Florida State, though, I mean, it's ACC all day.
Don't count out LSU. I'll put it that way.
Yeah, man. I love that Kansas theory, by the way.
It's a great, I love the idea of Bill Self.
Who's the guy that gives up his scholarship? I think it's Mitch Lightfoot, right? Like he's the guy. It's like, I'll give up my scholarship for Kofi.
I think so. Yeah. I wonder how far into the process they were, like, because in my mind this definitely happened. So like, I wonder how far into the process they were. Did they like sit Mitch Lightfoot down and like ask how much do your parents make? Is there a way
I think 100%. I think that has happened at some point. I'm not saying that it happened this year for Kofi, but I think one one of these years that he's been around,
and all the time that Bill Self has been in Lawrence, has he asked a player how much do your parents make?
Yes, 100%.
I'm cheering for LSU though. I think that's that's where I've arrived. Is that on every recruiting decision, if you do not have if LSU is in your Final 5 or Final 3 or whatever, I'm not cheering for LSU. I'm only cheering for LSU when
they come completely out of it. Yeah, no.
Kofi's like, it's down to these 3, and then LSU's not on the list, and then he says, I'm going to LSU. They made a strong ass offer. There's nothing anyone else can do about it.
Gives a thumbs up to the camera.
All right, let's wrap this up. What else is there to say?
I mean, honestly, I don't have anything else other than Duncan. Shout out to Duncan Robinson.
Yep.
He is a true gem, a true friend of the program, despite us blaming him as the fall guy.
Yeah.
He will be back on the show. Hopefully at some point. I mean, hopefully soon. Maybe Summer League. We'll see.
When does free agency start? Like in August?
I got a prediction. He's going to the Knicks.
We should get him on when that's definitely not going to happen.
When he commits?
No, like before he commits.
Oh yeah.
And then just
why don't we just
gauge it based on his
that why don't we just guess and we come on and we just say,
dude, do you think we're close enough to him, like, because I shared the text and then that blew up and now like it's I don't know, if you mention my name with Duncan's name, it's like it kind of registers with people, I think, at this point.
Yeah.
Do you think because of that, because of our relationship and how public it is, we could report where Duncan's going and people will believe it, even if we're full of shit?
For sure.
Like if we put out a tweet that's like Duncan Robinson to the Knicks, that everybody would buy it just because.
I mean,
they're like surely these guys.
Full disclosure, I sent him a meme and it was like basically the Knicks won't Duncan Robinson, and he was like, it would be a dream to play in New York. There's your scoop. I was like, well, sounds like Knicks. Sounds like the Knicks to me. I mean, as I said to you before the show, if you have 15 minutes of fame, Duncan's on 17 minutes right now. He's like 2 minutes past because the bubbles are too far removed. But if you go to New York, you go back to 7 minutes. You know what I mean? You're right back in the spotlight.
Come on, dude. What do you mean? What are you talking about? No, dude. The party's
finals,
just starting, dude. He's about to be a free agent. He's gonna sign a massive deal. He's gonna be balling out.
And then he goes back to 7. If he signs a massive deal with the Pacers, guess what? He goes to 25.
How do you know it's the Knicks? When he says he likes New York, maybe he meant the Nets.
That'd be fine too.
Maybe
guess what? He goes back to 7.
Maybe he meant just like, I like visiting New York. You know, like maybe it's that.
He said, I love New York. I would love to play for the. No, I'm kidding.
Are you reporting? Because he told me at dinner he wants to play for the Lakers.
I can't imagine the Lakers.
If Duncan hears this,
they called him Jimmy Neutron.
Yeah,
he can't do that.
If Duncan hears this, he's like, I'm never going on.
Yeah, he's like, I'm never going on the Knicks. I'm never playing with the Knicks or the Lakers. I'm going Heat for life.
No, he's like, I'm never going on your show again.
Let's report. He's going back to the Heat. That's what I heard.
Yeah,
he's going back home. He loves the Heat.
Yeah.
Pat Riley's like, no.
I think that's what we have him on. Is we have him on right as free agency starts.
Yeah.
Maybe we just cold call him, and then we just ask him where he's going and just gauge his laughter, like how red his face gets when we say, like, what about the Knicks? What about the Pacers? And then he really laughs. And I'm like, why you're laughing a little too hard.
I think you should go to whoever wins the championship. You've always talked about this.
That's a great idea.
Yeah, you commit to who
Duncan
wins.
Also, is he restricted though? Like if the Heat want him back, he kind of Well, that's not as fun.
But if you get a big offer from the Knicks.
Oh, that's right. So it's like the Gordon situation when he signed.
They're not going to match, Duncan getting 4 years, $40 million or whatever it is. They can't.
That's true. Okay, so.
And if you're a team like the Knicks, you do that just to screw over the Heat. You know what I'm saying?
We got to get Duncan. We got to get a Tipton edits for him with this whole process.
Yeah.
We got to get like the most shittily, not even Tipton because they're too mainstream. We got to get a guy that's like an up and comer, some like 12.
Let's also put the Shanghai Sharks on there,
yeah.
just as a joke,
and have him make an oversaturated picture that you know, with all the graphic
glossy
on it. Yeah. And he puts G League on there. Too,
yeah.
Shanghai Sharks.
Yeah. Just has
and then
options.
LSU as just a classic zinger. He just puts LSU on the list.
Yeah, they've actually offered him the most money in free agency. What is LSU gonna do with the NIL? I mean, that's the funniest thing ever.
Oh man, I don't know. We'll see. I want to shout out Coach K. His final year here.
Yes.
It's coming up. He's retiring, and I love him. And
after the Australia game, all I could think to myself was, this team needs Coach K.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
I do think Greg Popovich will be the last NBA coach to be the head coach of the USA team.
Agreed.
For a long time. I think they're going to do like Jay Wright's probably next in line, right?
Yeah, Jay Wright's up next.
Yeah, Jay Wright will be next, and then I don't know who will be after that. Will Wade probably. If I had to guess, John Shire.
Will Wade has bid on the Team USA job, and he has given a strong ass offer, and Grant Hill has accepted it. He's the first coach to pay to be the coach of Team USA.
Yeah, you look up and it's like Will Wade is the head coach, Bruce Pearl is his top assistant.
Yeah.
Sean Miller is.
Yeah. I mean, it's a great staff. That's a great staff.
And Rick Pitino's the old head that's like not on staff, but he's just kind of around.
Yeah, he's Jerry West. He's just hanging around the background. You just see his eyes.
We're not losing, dude. We're not losing with that coach.
I stand by what I said. Rick Pitino is a better coach right now than Greg Popovich. That's a fact.
I agree with you. I think he's always been a better coach than Greg Popovich.
Well, I would agree with that, too.
That's what's always been the funny part about Rick Pitino is that he is, from a pure basketball standpoint, you could make an argument that he's the greatest coach maybe ever.
Yeah,
ever lived. In terms of like
the two greatest coaches that are alive and still coaching right now in my mind are Rick Pitino and Larry Brown.
Yeah.
Literally.
Yeah, I would listen to that argument.
Yeah.
I mean, I probably agree with it. So
Larry Brown
will
call into the show and argue it with us.
I mean, honestly.
You're like, are you talking in third person, coach?
That's what makes it so funny is Rick Pitino mastered like one small sliver of being a head coach.
Yeah.
And he failed at like basically everything else.
Yeah.
And that's what makes it so funny. And
yeah.
That's what makes his plight so funny. But at the same time, you know, you put him in a position where all he's got to do is coach. I think
and drink Casamigos.
I think he'd be better than that. Yeah. Pop. Speaking of retirements, I want to shout out a throwback on the internet that I don't even know if you're aware of who this guy is. Trill Ballins.
Oh yeah.
Do you know Trill Ballins?
Yeah.
He's announced his retirement from the internet.
Wow.
And Trill Ballins is a guy that is an OG Twitter user. Back when Twitter was fun.
That's what I was like. Yeah, I was like, man. I was
back
like,
when Twitter was fun. He has announced that
it's kind of like Network before I knew Jason. You know what I mean?
He logged off Twitter a few years ago, and he did this podcast, Lights Camera podcast, with Barstool, I want to say. And they, I guess he just announced recently that he's no longer going to do the podcast. He's always been anonymous the entire time. Mm-hmm. Not to brag, I know him. I met him. I know
you went on that podcast, if I remember correctly. Yeah.
I had a dinner with him one time too. But anyway, point is, he's done from the internet. He made Twitter fun, Tate, and he's no longer on Twitter. And I just want to tip my cap to an OG Twitter guy, an OG like weird internet brain dude, because like the internet has evolved so much to where like it used to be the people that were logging on were just kind of like just weird, basically.
Yeah.
And I was one of them, and I was one of those weird kids, and I was one of those weird people. And then now it's become obviously very mainstream in society.
It's like your public persona at this point.
Yeah, and if you're weird on Twitter, it's just kind of
people think you're weird in real life.
You're weird in real life.
That's actually they judge more of the Twitter personality than the real life personality.
Yes.
You're confused.
But back then, like when you were weird on Twitter, you were cool.
Yeah.
Now when you're weird on Twitter, you're just weird.
Yeah.
And no one likes it.
Yeah.
And it's like a weird, you know. So anyway, I want to shout out Trill because he's got a baby and a real job and a real family and a real life. And I guess he's just like, I'm just going to log off and go live my life. And I think that's the dream. And I think that's what I want to do. And I don't know. I'm jealous of him. So
no, I mean, aren't we all? Aren't we all?
Man, is that it? I think that's it.
That's all I got.
We're out of shout outs. You guys enjoy your weekend. We will be back next week with more nonsense and more big time guests. So tune in. Who's gonna be next?
I can't wait for Tuesday. The biggest guest you've ever seen on this show, Larry Brown.